All right. Welcome, everyone. Week one, Five to Thrive. This is such a great program. And I hope you all will think so as well. We have plenty. We have the majority of the group that's rolling through it this with us this time around. The majority of y'all are second, third, and fourth timers. So that to me speaks well of how you felt when you did this program, and you want to keep that mojo going and kind of like refresh your attitude, reclaim your kitchen, and regain some not regain, maybe gain more education about what's happening in our bodies and what we can do with regards to the food on our plates, the drinks in our cups or our stemware, and how we can take care of our homes in a better and a healthier way so that we can, as they say in the movies, live long and prosper. So I'm gonna make share my screen. That's what I'm gonna do, and get this slideshow rolling. I think I can roll through this and be done in an hour 15. I mean, that's maybe even a little less. So what I want is, if you have questions during the presentation, put them in the chat box, or just hold on to them, because the answer might come during the presentation. But put them in the chat box, and if we've got time, I'll quickly respond to them at the end of the presentation. If we run out of time, I don't think we will, but if we run out of time, we're getting started a little bit late, I will absolutely get them answered over in the Facebook page or the Facebook group. So that said, if you haven't already jumped into the Facebook group and introduced yourself, please do so that we can all get on board with one another together and support one another in the best way possible. So, okie dokie, let me get my notes. We're gonna start. I want to start by taking measurements, so to speak. Waist circumference is one of the most important and sensitive markers to determine your risk of diabetes, metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, hypertension, heart attack, and death. If there is VAT, that's visceral abdominal tissue. That doesn't stand, I mean, it does stand for value added tax, but that's a different program. If there is VAT, then chances are, very likely, there is fat surrounding the organs as well. And if that's the case, you can damn well say hello to fatty liver. And I must say, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is becoming increasingly prevalent among women. I'm seeing more and more of it among my clients that don't even drink, or if they do, they drink so insignificantly, and they're like, what the heck? How do I have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? Or how do I have a fatty liver that looks like the liver of someone who drinks? Well, it's fat. Sorry to say. This visceral abdominal tissue, this abdominal fat, it's pro-inflammatory, and it throws your hormones, our hormones, completely out of whack. So tonight or tomorrow morning, I do want you to do this. I want you to grab a measuring tape, wrap it around your waist, just above your navel. We're looking for, okay, sit down for this. We're looking for 34 inches or less. Now, I know it's like, what? Anything 35 and above for women. Now, the number's different for men, and there's a link here on the screen. And by the way, y'all can take a screenshot of any of these slides, because on most of them, I have pulled up the scientific research, the papers that support what's happening on the slide. So, but you can check out like Cleveland Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, Harvard, Yale, all these schools of medicine, and do a little dive into waist circumference and the numbers for both men and women. Anyway, for women, anything above 35 inches puts you at risk for the conditions that I mentioned above, right? The diabetes, the hypertension, heart attack, metabolic syndrome. I gotta say, though, and I want to be extremely clear, ladies, that this is not about shame, okay? Zero shame in this game. This is about actually staying in the game for as long as you can. It's about your health. It's about your life. The numbers on the scale just aren't enough to tell us if you're coming out of the danger zone, but losing inches around your waist is. So as far as the scale goes, there might be a time and a place to step on it and watch your quote weight. I don't know. I don't encourage it. I just don't encourage it. I think scale numbers are, I've seen them be triggering to women, and it's just not worth it. The most important thing is this visceral abdominal tissue. So take a dive into that sometime this week if you're intrigued, but it's serious, and not to start off on a really serious note, but I feel like I have to say that. So if you will measure your waist sometime in the next 24 hours and make a little note of it in your manual, and then you can see where you are in 5 weeks and see what has changed. Okay, now moving on. During perimenopause, the first hormone, because this is, predominantly women's hormone health, so let's dive right into the good stuff. During perimenopause, the first hormone that decreases is progesterone. Okay, now this can lead to an imbalance of estrogen, and the term that's tossed around in health circles is estrogen dominance. Now, I want to be clear: ED, estrogen dominance. This is not a diagnosis, and actually, it's somewhat controversial as a topic among medical professionals because it's not a diagnosis. You're not going to find it in the book. Many conventional medicine practitioners state that estrogen dominance is a bunch of hogwash, while others, such as the Department of Veteran Affairs and the Cleveland Clinic, they recognize it, but they use a different term. Rather than saying estrogen dominance, the term they use is unopposed estrogen. So I'm going to use those two phrases interchangeably throughout the program. Now, our hormones are constantly fluctuating. Am I right? I mean, we have felt this. They're not only constantly fluctuating throughout the course of our life, but they're fluctuating monthly, daily, hourly. They're fluctuating by the minute. So at any given time, if you take a test of your hormones, they'll show higher levels of one over the other at any given time, and they're likely to be different from day to day, depending on the time of day that you test. Estrogen dominance or unopposed estrogen is a phrase denoting an abundance of estrogen compared to progesterone. Okay, those are the two primary hormones that we're going to be diving into through the course of the next 5 weeks. A common symptom of this unopposed estrogen is weight gain. Okay, and this causes you to store more fat around your stomach area, more fat around your midsection, more of that visceral abdominal tissue. So it can be confusing to hear that excess estrogen, or estrogen dominance, if you want to use that term, is one of the primary factors that leads to weight gain during and after menopause, because don't we all understand and hear that it's estrogen levels that drop during this time? I mean, we're losing estrogen, by the fistfuls, and, we've got to worry about bone density and this and that and the other. Okay, yeah, it's true that your estrogen, and I'm going to throw in a term here, a traditional Chinese medicine term, yang, that's spelled Y-A-N-G. It's true that your estrogen/yang levels drop significantly during menopause, but if your progesterone, and that's a yin hormone, if your progesterone levels decrease at a faster rate, you can still become estrogen dominant. So regardless of how little estrogen you actually have in your system. So it's about the dance between estrogen and progesterone. As long as you have lower levels of progesterone than estrogen, okay? If the progesterone has tanked lower than the estrogen, or it's tanking faster than the estrogen's still dropping, But if the progesterone is dropping faster, you're likely to experience many of the symptoms that are associated with unopposed estrogen. So to recap, with estrogen dominance or unopposed estrogen, the estrogen is either too high or the hormones which balance it, progesterone, are too low. And this is really common in women who have taken hormonal birth control, particularly for an extended period in their life. We also find man-made compounds that interfere with the function of estrogen and other hormones in products like plastics, personal care products, receipts. Think of those receipts that are real slick. I can't remember what kind of paper that's called, but we used to use it in the restaurant all the time. It's the really slick restaurant, or it's the really slick receipt paper that comes out of the gas station. You know what I'm talking about. So receipts, heavy metals, herbicides, pesticides, even in the smallest doses, these compounds negatively affect hormone balance, and they're referred to as endocrine disruptors. So we've got estrogen dominance, ED, and we've got endocrine disruptors, ED. They can cause a host of discomforts, including weight gain, insomnia, difficulty articulating thoughts, hello, brain fog, and a decrease in sex drive. So, spoiler alert, having unopposed estrogen or estrogen dominance is a direct result of the foods we eat. So let's dive into that. Processed flour, processed sugar, processed oil, dairy, coffee, oh no, alcohol, oh yes. So we're gonna take each one of these. I'm gonna give you the lowdown on why we're eliminating or at least reducing significantly these categories, these 6 categories. I call them the big 6. And if this is new to you, you've got that list. Not only is it in your manual, but you have that list in the email that I sent this morning, as well as over the weekend. You've got a list of the big 6 on one side, and then in the other column, foods to bring in place, because I will not be that person that pulls the rug out from underneath you and tells you you can't have processed sugar without giving you something that is every bit as sweet, but that is also wholesome and nutritious. Because this isn't, I want to be clear, this isn't a diet. And I'm not a big fan of diet culture. It's ironic to me that when we strive to eat whole foods, real foods, in this day and age, that's considered a diet to many people because we eat such crap. And so when we want to start reducing all the ultra processed stuff that many of us have been living on for the last 30, 40, maybe even 50 years, people are thinking we're on a diet. No, we're just returning to wholesome, natural, God-made foods rather than man-made or lab-made foods. Okay, so let's dive into flour. Super refined bleached flour, and that's the culprit here. I mean, super refined bleached flour forms a sticky, heavy mess. I mean, you've probably all handled Play-Doh. You've handled flour and water, and you see, it gets all over it sticks to everything, and it's kind of hard to wash off. But it forms this sticky, heavy mess. It's tough for our digestion to transform that heavy, sticky mass into energy. White flour wreaks havoc on all of the hormones in the body. It increases inflammation, causing stress on the adrenal glands, then the thyroid glands, then the gonads, in that order. Ultimately, many people believe leading to autoimmunity because of the inflammation. Now, whole wheat flour, okay, that's certainly more of a whole food, to be sure. Thanks to its higher fiber content, it's not as sticky as the super refined bleached white flour, but it's still possible to overdose on that as well. So I'm going to encourage you, ask you, invite you to get off of the processed flour just for 5 weeks. Everything that happens here is just for 5 weeks. You're using your body as an experimental lab and doing what I call me search. So if you can ditch the white processed flour, try sourdough instead. Some bakeries, if you have the good fortune of living near an artisan bakery that's making breads, muffins with einkorn flour, something like that would be great to experiment with. But we want to avoid the super refined bleached white stuff. Sugar. I think I'm preaching to the choir when I'm talking about sugar, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the white processed sugar. It leads to insulin resistance. Boom. That's enough right there. Should be enough. But also sugar, the white processed sugar is resistant to leptin, Leptin. Leptin is what we refer to in integrative nutrition and functional medicine circles as the hunger hormone. Leptin is that hormone that's secreted that lets us know when we're satiated, when we are full. Well, sugar just blows right past that and is resistant to that hormone. So I don't know if anybody else has had the experience where you open up a sleeve of Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies thinking you're just going to have two. And then within 5 minutes, you've eaten the entire sleeve. And it's like, what the hell just happened? Why now I feel sick? And how did I just eat all of that? And I say that from experience. It's like I have been in that position where I do not get that cue. I do not get that signal that, hey, that's enough. I just keep barreling through it. Call it my addictive personality. Sure, that's definitely part of it, but also sugar is highly addictive. So I'm inviting you to avoid white processed sugar. There's so much out there with regards to fresh fruits. I just bought the most amazing grapes this weekend that are like it's like eating candy. They're so good. But there's so much available to us that we get from Mother Nature, from Gaia, in regards to fresh fruit, honey, maple syrup. Even stevia gets a pass, right? So there's other ways to enjoy and satisfy your sweet tooth outside of the processed sugar. So we're going to talk dairy briefly. Not everybody is lactose intolerant, but more and more people are developing kind of an adult onset lactose intolerance. That may or may not be you. And if it's not, that's okay. I'm not here to just bash dairy at all. From an Ayurvedic perspective, the cow is sacred and dairy is a really big deal in India. You just go to your local Indian restaurant and, lassi is on the menu. So it's about the processing, it's about the factory farming, it's about all the hormones and the antibiotics that are pumped into cows for their milk. But dairy for many people is irritating to the gut and it's inflammatory. So I'm going to ask you whether you're lactose intolerant or not to go off dairy just for a month and see how your body responds. Conventional dairy is often packed with antibiotic residue and recombinant bovine growth hormone. So one signal that dairy might be messing with your hormones is if you have acne or adult onset acne. If you'll go off dairy for a month and see what happens with your skin, that's a good indicator of whether or not your body is responding well to dairy or the ingredients, the stuff, the antibiotics, et cetera, that are in dairy. Milk contains an abundance of IGF-1, which is a growth hormone. So excess of this hormone can cause inflammation and spike insulin, causing your liver to produce even more growth hormone, leading to an increased risk in diabetes and an increase in triglycerides. Especially if weight gain is a concern with you or something that you're challenged with, I really invite you to give dairy the boot for a month. Dairy from an Ayurvedic perspective is very kapha. It's very earth and water. It's heavy. It's grounding. It's weighty. So and I'm going to go a little off on Ayurveda for a minute, but if you have a high Vata constitution or you're very thin or you're convalescing and recovering from an illness, dairy can be great. Dairy is is what we call a tonifying. It has the energetics of being tonifying, of building. So, you know, older people who are struggling with keeping weight on, you know, eat more yogurt. That's great. But yogurt is a bowl of kapha. So if weight is a concern, or you know, too much weight is a concern, then definitely give dairy the boot for a month. Going to talk about meats just briefly. Smoking, curing, salting, and preserving. All of this type of handling of meats will be off the table for this next month. That means deli meats. I know, no more lunch meat sandwiches for a little while. Deli meats, hot dog, sausage, and bacon. Yes, even bacon. Meat and dairy actually are the two top culprits in hormone dysregulation, specifically these processed meats that have been smoked, cured, salted, and are laden with preservatives. Does that mean that you can't have a piece of line-caught salmon over the next month? Absolutely, go for it. What about grass-fed, farm-raised beef? If you know there's no junk in that meat, great, go for it. Again, if excess weight is a condition that you want to address, I would say no meat for 4 weeks. Just see how your body responds. But just like dairy, there's a time and a place for meat in the world of Ayurvedic medicine. High Vata constitution, Vata imbalance, trying to put on some weight, trying to build bone, build muscle. There's a time and a place for meat. Okie dokie, processed oils. There's quite a bit to say here. Soybean, canola, corn, and safflower. These are considered industrial seed oils, and industrial seed oils are all over the internet right now, and they're kind of controversial. I mean, some people are really demonizing them. The way that they're processed is not so great, but you know, if you just took a sunflower seed and were able to press the hell out of it, you would get oil. You wouldn't get much, but you would get oil. That's from nature. That's a whole food. That's cool. But the problem is these are highly processed oils. The commercial seed oils are highly processed oils that are extracted from soybeans, rapeseed, which is canola, cottonseed, and safflower. So now in making these oils, they're oxidized, which creates a harmful byproduct. Then they're processed with a petroleum-based solvent like hexane, and this maximizes the amount of oil that can be extracted from the seed. Then chemicals are added to offset the odor from the oxidization. And then finally, more chemicals are added to improve the color, to make it look more appealing and prettier on the grocery store shelf. So that ladder right there of processing the oils takes all of it's no longer a natural substance, right? It's no longer a God-made food. It's now a lab-made food or a man-made food. And our body doesn't recognize the substances that are used in processed foods, such as artificial colors, artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners. Certainly doesn't recognize hexane, which is a petroleum-based solvent. It doesn't recognize that as food because it's not a food. Just as a carpenter couldn't pick the appropriate tool for her job if she can't recognize it, our body can't determine which foods will be appropriate for us if their properties are manipulated, disguised, and altered to change their color profile, to change their flavor profile, and to change their properties. So again, I'll just reiterate, when a God-made food goes through this process and becomes a man-made food, our body's like, I don't even know what this is. I don't know what to do with it. And it does not get digested. Stick a pin in that. More on that in a minute. So feeding ourselves substandard food produces substandard building blocks of nutrition. If we have poor quality nutrition, we're going to have poor quality tissues. And by tissues, I mean bones, muscle, blood, lymphatic tissue, nervous tissue, marrow, reproductive tissue. Poor quality nutrition equates to poor quality tissues, which equates to a poor quality body. Okay, feeble nutrition, feeble tissues, feeble body. And we are here to build and reclaim the opposite of that. Strong nutrition, high quality nutrition, high quality tissues, high quality digestion, and a high quality body. Coffee. Okay, so kind of a touchy subject, but we're going to go in. Caffeine decreases insulin sensitivity and increases stress hormone levels in our blood. Caffeine can be leaching, can be depleting rather. It can leach nutrients from our blood. Caffeine also jacks with our adrenal glands and disturbs hormone functionality. Get this, for 24 hours. Caffeine stays in our system for 7 to 10 hours. If you're struggling with insomnia or disrupted sleep, no more caffeine after 12 o'clock in the afternoon. No iced tea, no coffee, just like let it go. But especially, I want to just reiterate that caffeine hijacks our adrenal glands and disturbs our hormone functionality for up to 24 hours. So if there's a pot of coffee going into your body on a daily basis, that's a lot of 24 hours that are getting kind of steamrolled with caffeine. Now, there will be times in this program where you'll hear me talk about green tea. In fact, I'm going to talk about it a little later this evening towards the end. Green tea is touted to have many benefits regarding like weight management and weight loss. Of course, green tea has caffeine. The caffeine in green tea and the caffeine in coffee are slightly different with their effects on the body, but I will also be encouraging you to look at decaffeinated green tea. So with coffee, is it the caffeine or is it the acidity? Well, the best response is it depends, right? So just like with meat, just like with dairy, there's a time and a place for caffeine, okay, in small doses. If there is a caffeine dependence, and you'll know if you have a caffeine dependence, you probably already know if you have one, but if there's a dependence on caffeine, that means that it's not that I necessarily want to enjoy a cup of coffee because of the sensory experience that comes with it. It smells good, it feels good, it's bold, it's got a heavy mouth feel in my mouth, it's got memory associated with it, there's so much sensory going on with a cup of coffee. But when, if I want it just because I want to enjoy a cup of coffee, that's different than saying, I got to have a cup of coffee. I can't go to work without a cup of coffee. I won't function without a cup of coffee. So there's that fine line. There's that balancing act that I want you to explore for yourself over the next couple of days. Also, coffee is so highly acidic. And if there is any hyperacidity, reflux, GERD, indigestion, if you are a strong pitta constitution, right? You're a fire type, or you have a tendency to lean into those fiery discomforts and indigestion, coffee should go off the table for a couple of weeks and give your GI tract some time to cool down and tap the brakes on the acidity for a bit. So coffee's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, in the world of Ayurveda, we look at caffeine as being artificial prana. And we can develop a dependence on artificial prana. There are ways to increase and harness our prana without caffeine. We can do it through breathing techniques. We can do it through movement. There's other ways to build and sustain our energy levels without reliance on external chemical sources such as caffeine. So that's my little coffee talk. Now let's talk about alcohol. There may be benefits in the news in the last 5 years, 10 years, to that nightly glass of wine. But I will tell you, there are also enormous drawbacks to that nightly glass of wine. Some of the benefits that are in the news are the potential to increase longevity, the potential to induce relaxation, to promote heart health. Can you derive these same benefits from something else? I say absolutely you can. With regards to inducing relaxation, there might be that first initial long exhale with that first couple of sips of wine or Cosmopolitan or whatever your toddy of choice may be. However, I will also tell you and assure you that alcohol is disruptive to sleep. So my clients who come in and say, well, I can't not drink my 2 glasses of wine every night because it helps me sleep. To that I say, sedation is not sleep. Sedation is not sleep. It is still disrupting your sleep quite significantly, and there's a good amount of research and evidence on that. I really ask you, I hope for you, I wish for you to let go of the wine for just 4 weeks. On week 5, by the way, you can bring all this shit back in, all this stuff back in. You want to bring a glass of wine back in on week 5 and see how your body responds? Bring the dairy back in, have a piece of sausage or bacon or whatever. But I say, like I said in the email, you treat this like a full-on lab experiment. Go 100% if you can, and ditch the alcohol for 4 weeks. I promise you're going to feel better. So a couple of things more about alcohol. Alcohol is noteworthy for its ability to enter and affect nearly every system in the human body. The endocrine system and our hormones are no exception to that. Some of the drawbacks are alcohol increases the risk of osteoporosis. So if bone health, bone loss is a concern of yours, ditch the wine. Alcohol also appears to increase estrogen levels. We're already talking about unopposed estrogen and estrogen dominance. Now, the drawbacks to alcohol, in addition to osteoporosis and estrogen levels and disrupting the endocrine system and our hormones. Now, there was a study, the Million Women Study, found that the risk of any kind of cancer increased as alcohol consumption increased. I'm getting on my soapbox here a little bit, so bear with me. No matter the type of alcohol, it didn't matter if you were drinking Jack Daniels or a glass of wine or a Zima wine cooler. Anybody remember those? What were those things? Ridiculous. Anyway, so no matter the type of alcohol, in an editorial that accompanied the release of the Million Women Study, I quote, "From a standpoint of a cancer risk, the message of this report could not be clearer. There is no level of alcohol consumption that can be considered safe." If you are in a family genetic pool where cancer is evidence, especially these estrogen dominant, estrogen fed cancers, breast cancers, alcohol is not your medicine. I'll just leave it at that. It is not your medicine. Okay, and then I'm going to talk really briefly about products often referred to as endocrine disruptors. I spoke about this several slides back. Some of these chemicals, the molecular structure of these chemicals resembles natural estrogen so closely that they fit into the same receptors in our body. So they either bind to these receptors so that our own hormones can't bind to these receptors, or they travel to the nucleus of the cell where they produce a negative effect on the chromosomes or the DNA. And once they're there, they're like the party guests that won't leave the house. Now, you're going to learn a heck of a lot more about this in weeks 2 and 3, okay? But that's just a little sneak preview. Stick a pin in that. Now, your gut microbiome and your liver. If your liver and your microbiota, your gut microbiome, are not healthy, they will not clear the excess estrogen from the body the way that they should. Since we're getting extra estrogens already from our food, from our environment, from the products we use, maybe the body products we're using, we simply can't keep up. We're adding to the problem. Stress and poor sleep. Okay, stress exacerbates estrogen dominance. So the higher and more sustained the stress levels, the more severe the unopposed estrogen symptoms are likely to be. Traditional Chinese medicine views the hormonal problems that most women face as brought on by, this is a great, I love this saying, doing too much while getting too little physical and emotional nourishment. Doing too much while receiving too little physical and emotional nourishment. Just as at the beginning of the the slideshow tonight, I spoke briefly of that dance between estrogen and progesterone. There's still a dance between our stress and our nourishment. If we're doing too much and the scales aren't balanced by getting enough physical and emotional nourishment. So it's more than the food that we eat, is emotional and mental nourishment as well. Traditional Chinese medicine identifies two major types of hormones. Okay, we've got our stress hormones, which are the adrenaline, the cortisol, and the DHEA. These are called the yang hormones, right? YANG. Yang energy is very stimulating. It's very much related to solar, sun, masculine, fire energy. It's that energy that gets us out of bed in the morning. It's the energy that is abundant during our 20s and our 30s and our 40s. We're in the yang time of life where it's go, go, go. We're building, we're creating families, we're creating businesses, we're creating empires. We're on fire, so to speak, from the Ayurvedic perspective. TCM also identifies yin hormones, and these are the sex hormones, the estrogen and the progesterone. These are the nourishing hormones, the building hormones. These are the hormones that are so necessary when we're carrying a child in the body, right? These are the nourishing, soothing, cooling hormones. And the dance between the yin and the yang is critical to maintain a balance as we move through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. An overabundance of stress hormones, the yang hormones, right, adrenaline, cortisol, outweighs the nourishing effects of our sex hormones, right, estrogen, progesterone, which leads to a breakdown of muscle, bone, skin, and brain tissue. As we've seen, estrogen, just a reminder, estrogen is a nourishing yin hormone, decreases with age and drops significantly at menopause, leaving us with less of a buffer against physical and emotional stress. And I'm not aware of anyone that lives a stress-free life. If that's the case, I want what you're having. But there's just a lot of stress in our world. Okay, so that I'm just taking a look at the time. Okay, probably going to go an hour and 15 minutes as I thought we might, because what's going to happen next is I'm going to do a deeper dive into Ayurveda. Okay, and the Ayurvedic explanation of what's happening here in week 1. For starters, I really admired this quote so much. It's from one of my teachers from way back in the day. Regarding our hormones and balance, the lack of hormone is problematic, yes, but it's still not the cause of the condition. So Ayurveda, much like traditional Chinese medicine, is always looking to find the root cause. If the hormones are out of whack and causing all these disruptions, weight gain, brain fog, insomnia, low libido, bone loss, etc., what's happening here? Yeah, the lack of hormone, the lack of the imbalance between estrogen and progesterone, yeah, that's a problem. But it's not the cause. The body's inability to remain in balance when the hormone levels fluctuate and dissipate is the true cause. And that's corrected by dietary and lifestyle practices. Because if you remember, our hormones are fluctuating on a yearly, monthly, weekly, hourly cycle. Our hormones are fluctuating by the minute. There's our cortisol hormone, the stress hormone, has a pattern. You know, we want it to increase in the morning when we're getting out of bed and getting rolling. We want it to decrease in the evening when we're winding down. It has a pattern that in a healthy individual it should follow. It's going up and down throughout the day. Our body's inability to remain in balance when that fluctuation is happening, our body's inability to maintain homeostasis when the hormone levels are fluctuating, that's the problem. And it's corrected by dietary and lifestyle practices. There are many natural remedies for specific symptoms that I'm going to address over the coming weeks, but none of them trump diet and lifestyle. These two interventions alone will oftentimes remedy a problem. I mean, you won't even need any of the herbs that are in your kit, any of the herbs that and spices that I'm going to recommend here over the next several slides. You can just, for many of you, you might discover that you can take care of most of this just by changing out the man-made foods to God-made foods, and being good stewards of your prana, good stewards of your energy. That can take care of so much. So in other words, back to this quote, without addressing the cause, the hormone imbalance due to excess stress, we're going to be treating it forever. It comes down to diet and lifestyle rather than learning how to manipulate each and every hormone. Now, I'm not bashing hormone therapy. I mean, there's a time for estrogen, there's a time for progesterone. Testosterone, I don't know that the studies really are, we don't have enough long-term studies to know how women are going to be impacted by taking testosterone. So I'm still a little gun shy on that personally, but you do you, it's between you and your doctor. But it comes down, rather than manipulating each and every hormone individually, how about changing the narrative and thinking, okay, for the next few weeks, the next few months, I'm going to strive to optimize my internal environment through changes in nutrition and lifestyle. Because when I do this, my hormones are going to shift in response to that. And really, we're looking for that natural impact on the hormones. So we're going to kick off some Ayurveda education now, and I'm going to roll through this. So a lot of this terminology might be new to you. You might be like, I don't even know what those words on the screen are. What the hell language is this? Just bear with me. Like I said, you're going to have this recording to keep forever and ever. Amen. So you can circle back to it as often as you wish. You can look these words up. If I don't do a good enough job articulating the definition, I encourage you to look it up. And of course, I've got a bucket of resources to send you to as far as books and articles to dive deeper. Okay, Ayurveda physiology, here we go. Let's do this, ladies. We are taking a look at two primary factors with regards to Ayurvedic medicine, agni and ama. First off, we've got to regulate agni. What the hell is agni? Agni is your digestive fire. I think of it as your inner pilot light. Now, there is a digestive fire, a way of metabolizing, digesting, assimilating throughout our entire body. Not only in the stomach and the small intestine, which is where we often think that's where I'm doing my digestion, small stomach and small intestine. That's the home base of our digestive fire. That's called the Jatra Agni. For those of you who want to like geek out on the Sanskrit, that's what Jatra Agni is. It's the home base pilot light in the stomach, digesting all of the food. If we're eating real food, digesting the food and the drink that we consume. We have a digestive fire. We have an internal pilot light, a metaphorical pilot light in our liver as well. It's called the Bhuta Agni. We have a digestive fire in our eyes. What we take on board visually either gets digested or it doesn't. Right? What we take on board through our ears, what we take, memories, events, any type of stimulation to our sense organs, we either digest it or we don't. Okay, so the word dhatu means tissues. We have 7 layers of tissue that make up the human body. That's another program, but I just wanted to throw that in there. So we have to regulate our digestive fire first and foremost. To regulate the digestive fire in the stomach will then lead to and result in better regulation of the digestive fire in the liver. And we're going to give our liver's digestive fire a bit of a boost in weeks 2, 3, and 4. After we begin regulating our internal pilot light, that will help us to remove ama. Ama is often loosely translated as toxicity here in the West. I don't think it's not entirely accurate. Ama means uncooked. It's uncooked stuff. It's the food or the food-like products that we take into or put onto our bodies that does not get digested. And so this uncooked stuff lingers in the body, makes its way into the bloodstream or the lymphatic system. It makes its way into the body and causes havoc. Now, why would we have ama? Why would we have something that doesn't get digested all the way? Well, maybe our digestive fire is compromised, right? Or we're consuming ingredients that our body doesn't recognize as food. And if it doesn't recognize it as food, it can't digest it because it doesn't know what to do with it or where to put it or how to accommodate it. We can see ama, we can see this uncooked funk or gunk. We can see it on our tongue. So you have a tongue scraper. Those of you who got the kit, scrape your tongue on the daily. Start noticing the color and the thickness of the coating on your tongue in the morning. Don't get too wrapped up in it, but just something to notice. We can see ama on our skin with disruptions, acne, boils, eczema, hives. Those are indications that there's ama in the body and it's trying to get its way out through the skin. One of our channels of elimination, right? Skin is a channel of elimination. Respiration is a channel of elimination. Urination, defecation. These are all channels of elimination, and ama is trying to get its way out of the body through any of these channels. Well, we can see ama in our bowels, right? So if your stool is sticky, taking an excessive amount of toilet paper to clean up. If your stool is more smelly than usual, extraordinarily smelly, those are two indicators that there's ama present, in the body trying to get itself out. So this just harkens back to the importance of regulating our digestive fire so that we have the capacity to burn up and digest this stuff completely. Because if it's undigested, remember, it's going to make its way out of the mucosal lining of the GI tract and make its way into the bloodstream or into other areas of the body. And that's that's from the Ayurvedic perspective, that is autoimmunity 101, is just this ama that is run rampant through the body. So you can see the importance of keeping our digestive fire regulated, getting it regulated, and then maintaining that regulation. And just like any true fire, the metaphorical digestive fire needs constant tending. And so having a strong digestive fire helps to remove ama, this uncooked toxic sludge from our body. Okie dokie. So that's a brief little history. So how do we regulate agni? How do we regulate our digestive fire or this internal pilot light? Well, we can do so with food, obviously, and habits. Now, with regards to habits, I'm a fan of time-based eating. I don't like to use the word time-restricted eating because I don't like the word restriction around food, but we can use time-based eating, which would be, don't eat anything after 7 p.m. and give yourself a 12-hour overnight window with no food, maybe a 14-hour overnight window with no food. If you've got some excess weight that's really bogging you down, try for 14 or 16 hours between your last meal of the day and your first meal of the next day. So no snacking. That's also a habit that you can develop that can be challenging, but no snacking so that you allow your digestive fire ample opportunity to digest the previous meal before we throw something else at it. And we can regulate our agni through herbs, a category of herbs called dipana. Dipana means digestive. These are digestive herbs and spices. The next several slides are going to dive into that. And of course, we can regulate our digestive fire by tending to the fire in the liver, which we are going to do in weeks 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to talk more on that in a little bit. And of course, moving your body. I say this frequently in the Monday emails. Well, I think I'm going to say it every Monday, frankly. Every week, I want you to move your body every day. How about that? Every day. I want you to move your body. I want you to move your breath, and I want you to move your bowels. The 3 B's. Move your body, move your breath, move your bowels. Okay. And if one of those isn't getting attention, then let's circle back. You can always text me, reach out to me, message me, email me, let me know what's happening, and let's see if we can't figure out a creative solution to get your body, your breath, and your bowels moving on the daily. So here we go with some botanical boost. For starters, most all of the products I'm going to share with you tonight come from Banyan Botanicals. I'm not affiliated with Banyan. I don't get a kickback. I find them, they harvest sustainably their herbs and spices. They make good, high quality Ayurvedic medicines that I consider to be, quote, over the counter, because you can order them online. You don't need to have a practitioner's certification or anything. It's open to the public. So they source their products in a sustainable way with integrity. They make great products, and they're easy to access online, and they're not crazy expensive. So I'm gonna share with you several. First off is Trikatu. Trikatu is 3 spices. It's ginger and 2 types of pepper. So right out of the gate, that tells you Trikatu is hot, hot, hot. So if you have a digestion, now these spices are going to be all about how to regulate and maintain your digestive fire, keeping in mind that we're all unique, right? We all have unique mind, body constitution. So there's no one herb fits all approach. Okay. So as I go through these combinations, just see where you land. You don't have to buy any of this stuff. That's not why I'm sharing it with you, but I just want you to see where you land. Okay, so Trikatu, ginger and 2 peppers. It's hot. It wakes up your digestion. It is going to stoke your pilot light. It is going to turn your heat, your fire up. If you are a strong kapha constitution, or you have a kapha imbalance, meaning like weight gain, heaviness, food moving slowly through the digestive system, a lack of motility, or a sluggish motility in the gut, meaning you eat and the food just doesn't digest very efficiently or very quickly, then Trikatu might be really good for you, because it's going to like fire you up and get things burning in your gut. It destroys toxins. In Ayurvedic medicine, it is used often not only to stimulate digestion, but and to reduce excess weight, but it's also used for coughs and asthma. Both of those conditions are conditions of kapha. So we would mix it with honey and eat it straight off the spoon, which is like, whoa, it's probably going to make your nose run, but it's delicious. Or you could stir it into hot water and drink it as a tea. You could take it before meals to stimulate your digestion. You could take it after a meal to aid digestion. So this is an option. It's a terrific combination. It's called Trikatu. Now you could also get that in a capsule or a tablet form. Ayurveda always proposes that we taste our medicine if we're taking medicine. So if you can handle the powder, I would go for the powder, so you can really get the full taste. The next blend that I'm going to share with you is called Hingva stock. Hingva stock. Hingva stock is a formula of 8 different herbs and spices, and a lot of Vaidyas, and Vaidya is the term for Ayurvedic doctor, Vaidya, Vaidya. And many Vaidyas consider Hingva stock to be like the go-to Ayurvedic digestive enzyme. I don't really call it that in my practice, but I think that's an interesting way to look at it. It does provide significant relief from a lot of Vata type indigestion problems, like cramps, bloating, flatulence, gas. We associate those factors with an excess of vata dosha, air, right? What's bloating if it's not air? What's gas if it's not air leaving the system? So if you have a strong vata constitution, or you're experiencing a vata imbalance, too much air and wind in your system, this would be a great cost-effective remedy to try. And again, you could take it from the spoon mixed with honey. It's not as hot as Trickatoo spice-wise, but it does have a kick to it. Or you could stir it into water and drink it as a tea. Hingvastak is also a great remedy for removing ama, okay, or undigested, uncooked stuff in our GI tract. And then this one's a fun one to say, avipatikar. So you can say it, avi, hati, kar. Avi, hati, kar. And then you say it real fast, like the Indians say it, avipatikar. And you kind of do your head like that, avipatikar. Anyway, so avipatikar, this is for my pitta princesses out there. If you run hot, if your GI tract is like on fire all the time, meaning you deal frequently with indigestion, hyperacidity, reflux, GERD, ulcers, peptic ulcers. Oh my gosh. If you've got a gastric, if you've been tested on the gastric irritancy index, if you have a high secretion of gastric acid, I got to tell you, those PPIs long-term do not do a body good. They do a body good for about 4 or 6 weeks while you're healing from your peptic ulcer, but long-term, oh Lord have mercy. That's a dangerous thing to play with. So avipatikar, there's some great research here on the bottom of the screen, on the bottom right, that talks about the benefits of using avipatikar for these conditions, treating specifically peptic ulcers. So you could mix it with aloe vera juice or water and drink it once or twice a day. Now, avipatikar will stoke your digestive fire, but it won't turn up the heat so much that it throws you into flames. Avipatikar will actually clear excess pitta, meaning excess heat from your digestive system. And if you're having some what we would call vata imbalances with the winds of vata going in the wrong direction, say hiccups, burping, vomiting, the belching and the vomiting. Those are the winds of vata that should be going downward, but they're getting mixed up and confused, and so it's coming upwards. Avipatikar is also an excellent remedy for that as well. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one, avipatikar. And that does not come in a tablet. That's only in a powder form. And it's got sugar in it. So be warned, they use cane sugar in that particular formula. Okay, couple more botanicals. Okay, checking the time. Couple more botanicals. Gurmar. You'll see it in the stores, and you can actually find this now in like here in Tulsa. I've seen it in natural grocers. I want to say I've seen it in Sprouts. Not sure, you might, I don't know about Whole Foods, but I know I have seen it in some of these natural grocery stores in town. So it's becoming more and more mainstream. You'll see it under the name Gymnema sylvestre. Okay, you'll see it under its Latin name. Gurmar is the Sanskrit word. And Gurmar, when translated from Sanskrit to English, I love this language, means sugar destroyer or sweet destroyer. So right there, that tells you what this herb can do for us. Eating the fresh leaves of the Gurmar plant will actually numb the sweet taste bud. Okay, so you know you've got the 6 tastes on the tongue, right? Sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, astringent. That sweet taste bud will actually be numbed for up to 4 hours if you just chewed on a leaf of this plant. Amazing. This herb is fantastic for balancing blood sugar levels. This herb has been used in India for over 2,000 years for the treatment of adult onset diabetes. Of course, they didn't call it adult onset diabetes 2,000 years ago. They had another name for it, but it meant too much sugar in the body. If you've got a sweet tooth that is kind of out of control, this one's for you. I mean, I jokingly, and this is a little bit of a stretch, but this is how my brain works. I jokingly refer to this as the antabuse for sugar addicts, because it's going to numb out the sugar taste bud, and anything you eat's going to be like so unsatisfying. It's just like, why bother? So if you've got a sweet tooth and or you're nearing that, your A1C is nearing that pre-diabetic level, I really can't speak highly enough about this particular herb. That is available now. It's becoming more and more mainstream. So it's easy to find, it's cost effective. And that's another thing I love about using these botanical boosts before we dive into, I mean, and I do want to say, and I'll say it throughout the 5 weeks, I am not opposed to pharmaceuticals. Please, please, please understand that. Not at all. However, when or if there's an opportunity, if the body hasn't crested that peak yet into like massive chaos where pharmaceuticals have to come in and do the work of keeping us upright and vertical, if we can treat the root cause before we get to that level, these herbs, these spices, these blends are such a cost-effective way to experiment and see how your body responds. And Gurmar or Gymnema sylvestre is just one of the many that's becoming more and more popular as the studies are showing up to tell us what it's really capable of. And then I want to talk about green tea extract briefly. So because tonight's focus or this week's focus is on excess weight, right? Or weight management, just maintaining a healthy weight. Remember, I'm not concerned with the numbers on the scale. I want you to feel good in your body, and I want you to stay out of that danger zone of having that visceral abdominal tissue. But if excess weight is a challenge that's maybe been up and down throughout your life, or maybe has shown up during perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause, the Gurmar is quite helpful. Green tea extract can also be quite helpful. There's no doubt in my mind that we would all be so much better off and so much more calm and so much more zen if we switched from coffee to green tea. Not only is it a powerful antioxidant and it's anti-inflammatory. We can't really say that about coffee yet. Antioxidant, yes, but anti-inflammatory, not yet. But green tea actually boosts our liver detoxification. Now, your liver has a natural process of detoxification. So when I talk about boosting it, and when we go into the liver protocols next week, it's not that we're trying to, quote, detox the liver. We're just trying to give it a boost to catch up and keep up with its natural detoxification processes. So your liver is responsible for regulating and maintaining and eliminating hormones. So any excess estrogens that we have going on, the liver's responsible. One of its big responsibilities is to eliminate those excess hormones out through the colon. So it's important that you're having a bowel movement every day. And it's important that we tend to the fire. Remember the digestive fire, the agni, the bhuta agni of the liver. So when taken in extract form, this green tea extract is a potent supplement for weight loss and hormone balance as well. You would take 200 milligrams a day of the catechins, and this is an extract you can find it at any of your local health food stores. I've seen it in all of the ones here in Tulsa. And you can get it decaf. So we can address the eliminating the reliance on caffeine. So, okay, still doing okay on time. I want to do just a really quick, I think your manual is pretty self-explanatory. But I do want to emphasize that the recipes that are in the back of the manual, those aren't like, mandatory recipes. You don't have to eat, cranberry orange barley bowl every single day for breakfast. Those are just to get you started. They're 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 just to get you started on exploring foods that you might not normally explore, like barley, for example, and making meals without processed foods. I will say that in the manual, in the recipe section, there's a couple of pages of mason jar salads. Now, I don't know who thought of the mason jar salad, but they should get a culinary Nobel Peace Prize, because that's just brilliant to have, 5 or 6 beautiful stacked mason jars in your refrigerator with these gorgeous salads. That said, we're in fall and moving into winter. This is not the time to eat cold salads. So, knowing that you're going to have this 5 to Thrive manual for the rest of your life, forever and ever, amen, this next summer, go crazy with the mason jar salads and the dressings. Likewise, there's 2 pages of smoothies. And again, Ayurveda would say no to the smoothies during fall and winter. More on that later, but right now, during fall and winter, all of our food should be cooked, and well spiced. Okay. So, but know that those smoothies that are in there, there's ways that you can increase the botanical boost in the smoothies by adding tulsi or adding this or that or the other. Really fun ideas and great tasting drinks, but save them for the summertime. Okay. So, in addition to the handful of recipes that are in the manual, I sent on, I think it was last Friday, but if you haven't seen the email, go back and look for the emails from me, because I sent you a supplemental recipe ebook, and it has like over 40 recipes in there. More breakfast recipes, some overnight oat recipes so that you can meal prep and you can have oatmeal ready to go in the fridge every day. Just nuke it before you eat it, so it's got some heat to it. You've got some warm salads in there. I do love a warm salad. I call them comfort salads. You've got more desserts in there, because I have a sweet tooth like crazy, and I love to have a little smackerel of something sweet every couple of days. I like to have a square of dark chocolate every day, and I'm not at all opposed to that. There's some pastas in there. There's some more grain bowls in there, but the goal of the program is to shift from any processed and ultra processed foods that might be in your daily rotation into more, I just keep going back to God-made food, right? Nature food, natural food. And remember, it's not a diet. It's just eating real food the way nature intended, the way that our body is still designed to process. There's a phrase called evolutionary mismatch. And it's used quite often with regards to our brain health, the fact that our brain is still evolutionarily working the way it was quite a long time ago, before all of the gadgets and the electronics came into being. And I mean, I'm grateful for the gadgets and the electronics, to be sure, but we're not, evolutionarily speaking, biologically speaking, we haven't caught up to that. The same goes for the food. I mean, we started eating processed foods, in the 1940s and 50s, really. I mean, maybe a little prior to that, but really that's when it kicked off into high gear. And our body internally, physiologically, isn't prepped to digest that stuff. So it doesn't understand what's happening. It can't process it. So our goal for the next 4 weeks and into the 5th week, hopefully, is to just shift our culinary habits back to eating real food the way Gaia, the way nature, the way God intended. So perimenopause signals a major turning point for us as women. It's a time of transition in which we're naturally suited to begin an inner journey. Until now, think about it. We have been educating ourselves. We've been raising families. We've been pursuing careers, and we've been contributing by fully engaging in the world fully utilizing our yang hormones, right? Those stress, get up and go, 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 go hormones. Now it's time to go inward. It's time to go yin with the yin hormones. Menopause marks the time to reverse the momentum of our involvement with the external and turn our energy and attention towards the internal. Now is the time to dive into, this would be the time of life to really dive into books written by saints or by teachers, books written by elders, spending more time with elders. This would be the time to retreat, right? Either alone or hopefully with other women, even in our virtual way. This is the time to fill and nourish your spirit. That's the shift of narrative that I want us to zero in on and focus on as we go through the next 5 weeks together. Okay, it's 8:15 my time. I want to take 5 more minutes and stop my screen share. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take 5 more minutes and run through some of these supplements because I know there's a few of you that are new. Some of this stuff that came in your Love Your Liver Care Kit, you're like, I don't know what the hell, when do I take it? What do I do? Well, it's in your manual, but to be clear, Triphala, you start taking this now. Okay, take it now. My motto with supplementation, whether it's nutritional supplementation, herbal supplementation, even pharmaceuticals really is like start low and go slow. If your bowels are moving regularly already, just take one, but do take one every day. The time of day that you take it matters not to me. I want you to take it when you're going to remember to take it. For me, that's at night. For you, it might be in the morning. Doesn't matter to me. Just get it on board. If your bowels tend to run a little slow, a little sluggish, or you lean towards constipation, start with 2. Banyan, this particular brand, you can take 4 a day and be totally fine. So know that you've got some wiggle room. Start low, go slow. Starting next week. So this week, all you're doing is you're taking Triphala and you're scraping your tongue. Okay, with regards to the Love Your Liver protocol. Next week, you will start drinking your aloe toddy. Now, don't sweat it right now because I'll put the ratio is in your manual, and I'll also put it in your email that you'll get on Friday to prep you for it. I'll put it in your email next Monday as well, so you know how much you're going to drink, but you're going to drink it twice a day, and you're going to bring in the liver formula. You're going to take 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. Okay, so that doesn't start yet. This will start next week, week 1 of the Love Your Liver protocol. Okay, week 2, or that'd be actually week 3. So week 2 is the start of the liver protocol with your liver formula and the aloe vera. And I'll talk more about that next Monday night. Week 2, okay, that's the start. Sorry, I'm getting confused with the weeks. Week 3 of the program is actually week 2 of the liver protocol. Okay, is it clear as mud? Okay, week 3 of the program, you're going to start drinking your tea, your liver tea. You drink 2 cups a day, or if you want to get crazy, you can just put 2 tea bags in a thermos, which is what I typically do. 2 tea bags in a thermos, fill it up, sip on that throughout the day, and there are your 2 teas in the day. So that's week 3. You're still going to take your Triphala, you're still going to take your aloe toddy, your aloe vera, and you're still going to take your liver formula. You're adding the tea. But don't sweat. I'm just giving you a heads up. Don't sweat it right now. Week 4 of the program, this is where we really get fired up with the liver. Week 4, you bring in the kutki extract. Okay, this stuff, those of you who've done this before, you know this stuff is bitter. It's bitter as hell. Am I right? This stuff is like, woo! I will also tell you, heads up, fair warning, this is an alcohol-based product because it's a tincture, it's an extract. Feel free to reach out to me. If you don't want to take an alcohol product, don't take an alcohol product. Reach out to me. Full disclosure, I'm in recovery. I don't take this. Some people, it's not a problem. They can take it. But I do a ghee instead. But everybody else, this is a tincture, an alcohol tincture is one of the fastest, most effective ways to get medicine into your body. Okay. So just there you go. But it's all there. It's bitter as all get out. And a lot of the women in the past will take the dropper and put it into their aloe vera toddy and toss it back like that. Just to, do everything you can to mask the taste, because this is strong, strong and bitter, 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 bitter. But kutki is, the liver loves kutki. The liver loves it. So finally, week 5, you have women's natural transition tablets in your Love Your Liver care kit. These won't come into the program until week 5. And even then it'll be up to you if you want to take it. I'll talk to you more about this product at the end of when we get into week 5, what it does, why it's a beautiful product, and why it's so supportive to women's health, both peri and postmenopausal. But you don't have to worry about this until week 5. Okay. So there you go. That's a quick rundown. Right now, all you got to worry about, all you got to do is just take your triphala, scrape your tongue and take your triphala. Okay. I don't see any questions in the chat box. Man, I really plowed through that. Thank you so much for your attention. Golly, I love this stuff. I was just like, let's keep talking. I love this stuff. So I hope that I was able to articulate it in a way that made sense to you. But like I said, you're going to have the replay for all your days. And I am here for you for these 5 weeks. I am all yours. So you have questions, you have concerns, you have curiosities. Ideally, you put them in the Facebook group, because chances are you're not the only one with those questions, concerns, and curiosities. And that way I can answer them to everyone. However, if you want to reach out to me privately, please do not hesitate. Okay. Do not hesitate. All right. Put your feet on the ground. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and a slow exhale. Bring your hands over your heart, one hand on top of the other. Take just a few seconds, 10, 15 seconds. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Feel the steady beating of your heart. Allow yourself to become aware of the work, the effort, the energy that your body is putting forth just while you're sitting here, doing seemingly nothing. Yet internally, inside, the cells, the organs, the glands, the breath, the heart, the tissues, the hormones, working, keeping us in a place of homeostasis. Regardless what we throw at it, everything's working just so diligently to keep us upright and vertical. And for that, I give thanks. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thanks for letting me go over by looks like about 9 minutes. So I'm going to let you go. Sleep well. And I'll see you on Facebook tomorrow.